Hello class, this is our first flipped classroom experience, and basically what I'm doing is trying to maximize our class time to do more fun activities. So we are going to be doing a lot of the lectures and summaries at home where you can type and do it on your own. So we are going to begin with introducing Lord of the Flies by William Golding. So let's begin. Something to understand is there is a concept that's really important and prevalent in Lord of the Flies. It's the psycho. There's been a lot of psychoanalysis that takes place, and I'll go ahead and explain what that means. So basically, Freud is a very famous psychologist that came up with the idea that people are divided into three divisions. That we all have the id, an ego, and a superego. And we are going to break down what all three of these are. So the id, for example, is the animalistic part of us. In a Christian point of view, it's our flesh. It's what makes us want to do evil and immoral things like lying and stealing, making fun of others. We have been talking a lot about bullying, and this would be the part in us that makes us want to bully and be hateful towards others. Then we have the ego, and this is more of the mediator between the id and the superego. It's our conscience, and this part of us has to choose between the id and the superego. The superego is connected to our morals, parental standards. It does make us feel guilty and shame at times when we want to do something immoral. So it is the part of us that wants to do good. So I'm going to break this down even further. Once again, the id is aggressive, animalistic. It deals with having sexual tendencies. It's pretty much the demon on our left shoulder. And there are characters in the Lord of the Flies that would fall under this category. And this we will be connecting this along with this idea of bullying being part of this id in us that pushes us to make those kinds of evil decisions towards people. The ego, like I said, is that middle person, the mediator between the id and superego. And this we can define that with having reason, free will, and kind of the realistic part of us that knows kind of the consequences between choosing what the id part of us wants to do versus the superego. And last but not least, we have the superego. It has the parental standards, it's moral, and we can connect this to the guardian angel. Something fun that I like to make connections with is in a lot of cartoons. We see characters right before they have to make a decision where you see the angel and the demon pop up on their shoulders and they have to choose. This is actually from Freud's belief or theory of that we're split into three different parts. Now to move on to our author, William Golding. So a little bit about him. He was a naval officer in World War II. So this has really impacted him in writing Lord of the Flies. He was obviously in the war, and he saw horrific betrayal and saw a lot of what the human heart is capable of when it's been impacted by hate and killing others. So he was born in England and he became a schoolmaster in Salisbury. So he had his education prior to going into the war. But after the war, he was forever changed. He could not believe the innate evil condition of a man's heart that, you see how the evils of what humans can do in warfare. So soon after, he did publish Lord of the Flies in 1953, and he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1983. A little bit more about the World War II, and you will learn this in your social studies classes. The Lord of the Flies was written a decade after World War II, so it obviously took William Golding some time to write about it, but he does write it in the form of a fictional story about boys that get stranded on an island and what they do to one another in trying to balance this idea of order and chaos. So Europe obviously suffered through 2 devastating wars, and many people were horrified by the destruction of it. So we will be looking at a lot of these themes of this idea of human immorality and hate, and how this is connected to bullying today. So we will be discussing this further. So last but not least, we're going to look at Chapter 1, the 5 W's. So for your homework, you can go ahead and list out who, what, when, where, and why. This will help you answer the study guide questions. So really quick in your reading, you are going to quickly meet Ralph. And he's our main character. He's our protagonist. He's not perfect. We all know there's no human beings that are perfect, but we are going to quickly find some of his strengths and weaknesses. He finds himself stranded on the island, and he first meets Piggy. Okay? Piggy, you'll learn a lot about him as well, and the rest of the boys, Jack, Simon. There's a lot of characters, so don't get overwhelmed, but for now, just keep your eyes on Ralph, Piggy, and Jack. Those are the 3 that really stand out in this chapter. So pretty much what happens is Ralph and Piggy meet each other for the first time. Ralph and Piggy find a conch, which is a shell, a really large shell. And if you blow into this shell, it actually makes kind of a trumpet sound. And it's a real thing. If you wanted to YouTube it, you can actually see this happen. And once Ralph blows this conch, he is able to corral all these boys that have been stranded on the island. You will soon find out there's a mention of a scar, S-C-A-R, in the island. And that is where, well, actually, let's pause on there. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I want you to think, what do you think of the scar, and in connection to the airplane and them crashing into this island? I've already said too much, but I want you to try to connect what the scar is. But the boys were all in this airplane, and because of the war going on, the pilot loses control, and they all crash into this island. So Ralph, after blowing the conch, corrals all the boys, and now all the boys, and they're all very young. Once you read their ages, are like some from little kids all the way up to maybe 12, maybe 14, the oldest. And Ralph is now trying to figure out to get order. So they all take a vote for who should be the leader, and Ralph is picked. Ralph, Jack, and Simon decide to explore, and they go ahead and they realize they're on an island. And on their way back, they find a piglet, and Jack has a slight impulse of knowing, like, where are they going to get food? It's no longer going to be given to them by their mom or dad because there's no adults on the island. So now there's this realization that they have to survive some way. And Jack lets this piglet get away that could potentially been their dinner. This takes place during World War II on a remote island. And the most important reason why this chapter, the most important part of this chapter and to take away is we are learning the different personalities of the boys and their role in the story. So it is an introductory chapter. So definitely enjoy. I hope you get to resonate with some of the characters. And like I said, try to keep in mind the superego, ego, id characters that are represented here, and also how could we possibly redeem these boys if we were to put them in our bullying campaign. All right. Have a great weekend and enjoy your reading. Thank you.